Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. So in this 2 week, meaning that this week and also next week, you will learn on the further transcendental functions and its differentiation and integration. The learning objectives. So at the end of the lesson, you should be able to understand what is transcendental function and its type, to differentiate between inverse trigonometric, hyperbolic, and inverse hyperbolic functions. Then, to find the derivatives of inverse trigonometric, hyperbolic, and inverse hyperbolic functions. And the last one is to evaluate the integrals of inverse trigo, hyperbolic, and inverse hyperbolic functions. So there are two types of function. We have algebraic function, and the second one is transcendental function, which we will focus on this topic. So algebraic function is a function with combination of the basic algebraic operations, addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. And also we have raising to constant powers. The example for algebraic function is 2x plus 1, and then we have ax squared plus bx plus c. So here we have basic algebraic operations, and also we have constant powers. Okay, what about transcendental function? So of course, transcendental function is a function that is not algebraic. So the example of the transcendental function is logarithmic function. For example, we have log of x, ln of x. The second example is exponential functions. For example, we have exponential to the power of 2x. And the third one is the trigonometric functions. For example, we have cos of x, sine of x, tangent of x, secant of x, and so on. Okay, and then for the fourth example of transcendental function is the inverse trigonometric function. Here we have arcsine of x, arctangent of x, and so on. And the last one is hyperbolic functions, which is sine hyperbolic of x, tangent hyperbolic of x, and so on. So these are all the examples for the transcendental function. So you can see the difference between the algebraic function and also transcendental function. In this chapter, the transcendental function that will be focused on are the inverse trigonometric function, hyperbolic function, and inverse hyperbolic function. So these three functions, we will learn how to differentiate and integrate this function. But before we go through all those three functions, first let us review on the trigonometric function where you have learned before. So these are the trigonometric function that you have learned. The first one is we have sine of x, cos of x, tangent of x, where tangent of x can also be written as sine of x over cos of x. And we have cosecant of x, where cosecant of x is denoted as 1 over sine of x. And then we have secant of x, which is equals to 1 over cos of x. And the last one is cotangent of x, which is equals to 1 over tangent of x. Here shows the graph of the trigonometric functions. For this first one, we have sine of x. So here is the graph for sine of x. And also I provide you the domain and the range for the related function. So domain of a graph consists of all the input values shown on the x-axis. Meanwhile, for range is the set of possible output values shown in y-axis. So for sine of x, the domain of this function is all the real numbers on x-axis. Meanwhile, the range of sine of x is between -1 up until 1. I'm not going to explain all the trigonometric functions, but you can pause the video and go through one by one. Here is the quadrants on a graph. So we have here the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. So in the first quadrant, the values for cos of x, sine of x, and tangent of x are positive. Meanwhile, in the second quadrant, the values only for sine of x are positive. And then in the third quadrant, the values only for tangent of x are positive. And the last one is for the fourth quadrant, only the values for the cos of x are positive. Now let us try this example 1. Find the values of y for a, sine of y is equals to 1 over sec 2, and for b, cos y equals to negative sec 3 over 2. Okay, now let's try the first example to find the value of y for this function. So what you need to do is that you have to bring this sign to this side to find the value of y. So once we bring the sign to the right hand side, it will become the arc sine of 1 over sec 2, which is this. So using calculator, and you have to make sure that your mode is in degree. So your answer would be 45 degree. But you can see here the value of sine of y is equals to 1 over sec 2, where this value is positive. If you refer to the quadrant that I shown you earlier, we know that the sine of y, when the value of sine of y is positive, it means that it is located in the first and also in the second quadrant. So here the degree would be 45 degree. Same goes with this one. So now we can get the value of y, where the first one would be 45 degree and the second one would be 180 minus with 45 degree. So your answer would be 45 and also 135 degree. So here are the values for y. So if you substitute the y values here, sine 45, you will get the value which is 1 over sec 2. And when you substitute sine of 135 degree into this, you also should get 1 over sec 2. So that is how you check your answer is correct or wrong. Okay, now you can try out this. Okay, you can pause the video, and once you complete, then you can play the video and check your answer. So now I'm going to show you the answer for this one. So the solution would be the same as the previous. However, the function is different and the value of cos of y is in negative value. So now first of all, let us identify the y value. So here would be the arc cos of sec 3 over 2. So using your calculator, you will get the y value which is equals to 30 degrees. So based on the quadrant, we know that this is for all trigonometric. This one is for sine, this one is for tangent, and this one is for cos. So since the cos value is negative, so the y degree would be located here and also here. So 30 degrees would be at this point and this point. So therefore, your y values would be from here, which is 180 degree minus with 30 degree, and the second one is 180 plus 30 degree. It will be 150 degree and 210 degree. So remember to check your answer by substitute back your y values into the question. So if you get the same answer with the right hand side, it means that your answer is correct.